Dear friends, with great respect and admiration to the indigenous peoples of the Americas, I welcome you to the third Inter-American Week for Indigenous Peoples, hosted by the OES. Given the current situation of the pandemic, we are celebrating this week joining the United Nations adopted theme, COVID-19 and Indigenous Peoples' Resilience. Our main goal during these days is to highlight the impact of the pandemic on Indigenous peoples, calling the international community to double their efforts to ensure that their rights and specific needs are considered in the fight against the pandemic. Indigenous peoples are overrepresented among the poor. They suffer higher rates of malnutrition, exposure to environmental contamination, and in many cases, lack of access to adequate healthcare services. The combination of these factors makes indigenous peoples more vulnerable to this disease. We call national authorities that when they implement curfews and lockdowns as responses to the pandemic, to prevent additional hardships upon indigenous communities. In addition, indigenous peoples already face food insecurity. Those who work in subsistence economies and the informal sector have been harshly affected by the pandemic. The situation of indigenous women, who are often the main providers of food to their family, is even worse. We must be sensitive to this reality and adopt a differentiated approach to this problem. In the post-pandemic world, our organization will continue the fight against indigenous peoples' discrimination, embracing an inclusive view that recognizes the wisdom and beauty of their cosmovisions. Finally, this special week aims to provide indigenous peoples the chance to express their concerns around the major challenges they are facing during these hard times. This is why, to all the indigenous peoples of the Americas, I tell you, this is your week. We are here to listen to your voices. You are not alone.